JordsWoodShop is sponsored by Minimax and by I Would Like. Check out their products at iwouldlike.com. Okay, so I was just coming over to quickly touch up this chisel which I found left out in the elements, and it's in pretty rough shape. The edge itself isn't too bad, but the rest of the chisel is. So I thought this would be a perfect opportunity for me to show you guys my method for sharpening a chisel. And I use a combination of things. If I'm just using the tool, I'll usually just head over to my strop, which I made a video on a couple of months back, so you can view that here. But this strop here, I'll usually just run the chisel over a few times, and that will just freshen up the edge and make it cut like new. However, with a tool like this, which is in pretty bad condition, I will use my water wheel as well as my diamond plate. So I used to use water stones, but I've since gone onto these diamond plates because they stay truer for longer. And with this plate in particular, it's got 400 grit on one side, which is perfect for flattening the backs on a new chisel. And on the other side, it's got 1000 grit, which is just perfect for touching it up. So with all that said, let's get into it. Okay, you can see that this chisel is in pretty rough shape on the back at least. So it's a fair bit of rust here, close to the edge, and the front is no better. I'm not too worried about the front, but I do want to touch up this back. So I'm going to use my diamond plate here first. Just put a little bit of water on there for lubrication. And up with the back, I'm just going to firmly run it up and down. Now I'm using the 400 grit side of this stone just as there is quite a bit of rust. Ordinarily, I'd just go straight to the 1000 grit side. I'll just do this until I have a nice dull colour on the back, which indicates that everything has been flattened. And I'm only really worried about maybe the first inch, if that, being dead flat. And obviously this chisel is in bad shape, but that's pretty much everything up to where it started to pit here. So that will do it for the 400 grit side. Alright, so that's one way to flatten the back of your chisel. Now on the higher end machines like the Tormek Waterstones, and I believe the Triton is okay to do it, I haven't actually confirmed that though, you can actually flatten the back of your chisel on the side of the stone. So the cheaper stones, so the ones which come with blue stones and all of that, the really soft stones, you wouldn't want to do this on just because you wouldn't actually get a flat back then. But on this machine, I'm going to give it a crack. So this is one way of doing it. So you just actually hold the chisel on the side of the stone and you just try and flatten it like that. So like I said, on the Tormex, this is definitely okay. I believe it's actually recommended you do it like that. Not 100% sure if it's okay to do it on the Triton, but we're finding out if it works. So this is the first time I've done it. So not too sure if it's meant to happen or not. It seems to be doing a very nice job, so it's an even scratch pattern everywhere. It's not quite a mirror finish, but it's definitely a good enough finish to take to a 6000 and 10,000 grit stone if you do want that mirror finish. But I'm going to say that's good enough for this chisel, as this is just a beater. I don't use it all the time. This is kind of for removing glue or beating out a mortise or something like that. So once I have that flat back, I'll actually just move onto the edge. Now, like I said, this is a beat around chisel, so I'm not too concerned. I've got this little jig here, which I've got set currently to 25 degrees. Is that you set your wheel diameter, so I'm on the bigger machine, so 250. You set your angle here, and then when you line it up on the wheel like that, you should be left with very little gap. Ideally no gap, obviously, but my mentality on this chisel is close enough is good enough. So now we know that we're getting the 25 degree angle. So once your angle's set, now it's just a matter of turning the machine on, and with your jig, just moving the tool across the stone evenly. So this is just so we get even wear. So if you do this regularly, this won't take long. Obviously if you're putting a fresh edge on the tool, it will take a bit longer. But we'll just check every now and again, and you can see that we're pretty close here already, so just a tiny bit more to get this angle across the blade even. From here, we've got a nice even burr on the front. We can do one of two things. Now, I just like to actually polish the front face before I remove the burr because I do that on my strop. So with this machine, it comes with one tool post, and we just flip it around to this back position. Lift those up. We put that on there. And now we just polish the face. So I use just auto saw, which is a metal polish on my machine. Doesn't take much, but just look. Okay, so we've got this nice polished edge on the front here, but our edge isn't finished yet. So we've still got that very slight burr on the back of the tool. So to remove that, I've just got a 6,000 grit stone here. I'll just give it a few strokes back. Now if we feel the back of the tool, I can't feel any actual burr anymore. So then we'll just give the back of the tool a very quick polish as well. So I use the same paste, it's just on a strop. There we have it. So that's a really nicely polished edge there. The back of our tool, it's not as polished as my good chisels, but it's good enough for a chisel like this. And as you can see, it has no problem in giving me a shave. So that was a pretty bad condition chisel. That took us less than 5 minutes to get to a perfect mirror edge there. And for a beta chisel, that's really good. Now on my good chisels, which I actually maintain every couple of weeks, I'll actually do this process, but to take it from where it is at the end of those 2 weeks to fresh, it takes me less than 2 minutes per chisel, and I'm getting really good results like this again. Okay, so that's how I go about sharpening all of my straight edge tools. So that would go for chisels, plane irons, things like that. Obviously, it's a little bit different if you're doing carving gouges or turning tools. But for me, I mostly work with these sorts of tools, and this is a method that works really well for me, and I get really good results every time. Anyway, that is it for this video. If you've enjoyed this video, click that thumbs up button, leave a comment below, and like always, if you haven't already, click that subscribe button, because I am putting out weekly woodworking videos most of the time. Sometimes I skip a week here and there, but most of the time it's weekly. So like always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.